What's up, everybody? Welcome to Witts podcast. I am your host, Devin Witt, alongside my co-host, Joe the Show. And, if you're here to pod today, let me tell you, I've got the heat coming.
I don't even know what we're talking about, so it's all going to be a fresh take from Joe because I ain't got a dang clue.
That is actually I'm excited to do that because for the first time, I actually haven't went over any of this with you. I think you got about 30 seconds of this yesterday whenever I called you asking for your advice.
Let's see what you got.
So just to give a little bit of background, I attended a conference this weekend. It's the second one in about a month that I've been to, Christian-based conference, and I love throwing that part out because Christian-based conferences typically...
that means nothing in today's society.
Oh, you're about to find out. So long story short, I attended Life Surge a couple weeks ago and signed up for a couple courses, one in real estate, one in stocks and bonds, and how to properly invest, because if you do have a little bit of extra money, which isn't the case for me right now, at some point you want to do something with it. So why not do it God's way?
Okay, well, I mean, it's a fair approach.
So, anywho, I go to this conference, and mind you, day one, I ended up staying up awake for about 36 hours in total. So maybe someone could blame me on where my mindset was at because I was so tired. But by day two, I started to have a really good understanding of where this course was taking me. So if you're not familiar, there is a company out there called Kingdom 320, and this company claims,
like a spinoff of 420?
A little bit. I feel like they never...
Where did 320 come from?
That's the thing. They never really elaborated on where the 320... I'm thinking Bible verse. Like, there has to be a Bible verse, something 320.
Yeah. 66 attempts at that.
I guess.
Well, I'm just saying.
66 times 6.
Well, I mean, whatever.
Anyhow, no, that's 666. Point of it being is this company is a brand new company, in my opinion. They were started in 2021 due to the little research that I did, and I was super excited to be a part of the program. Specifically, there was one individual who I really wanted to speak to. His name is James Smith, multimillionaire Christian, who I do feel like is saying what needs to be said, especially on a Christian-based perspective. So, anywho, I attend this event, and I'm sitting down, and I'm like, wow, I paid $97 for this class. Surely I'm going to get something out of it. And all of a sudden, day two comes around. They're like, hey, if you guys are interested in joining our program, fill out this application. So I stay after the class is over on the first day. I fill out the application. I'm excited. I'm like, wow, this is going to be awesome. Investing in God's way. Can't wait. Day two comes into effect, and I start to realize that this is not what I signed up for. So let me get to the punch here. They wanted $30,000 to invest in myself for 2 years of coaching, which equates to 2 coaching calls a month, access to their software, access to their Christian-based network, access to their events. I think they hold 7 of them on a yearly basis, as well as their annual workshop.
Yeah, so the punchline, they want $30,000 to get you rich, I guess, apparently. The first thing that comes to my mind, because again, I don't know none of this junk you're talking about, is whenever, and people probably see me on my phone, this business came about in 2021. What else happened in 2021? It's a peak of COVID.
Yeah, I was about to say
and real
COVID.
estate.
Yeah.
I mean, real estate went through the freaking roof during COVID, and it still is. And vehicles were the same. Vehicles, there was a shortage of chips. which drove the price of vehicle. People were paying past MSRP and getting bent over on these vehicles. Same thing with houses. The housing has went high too. So that was the first thing. Again, I'm looking at this from the outside looking in, no information. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah, coincidentally, a company that came out of COVID.
So now here's the thing, though. The founder, Jeff Rutkowski is his name. He's made tens of millions of dollars in real estate, okay? And if you're not familiar with his background story, he loves to talk about it. And
again, I'm going to be a lot of interjecting because he's saying, tens of millions of dollars, that don't mean anything. You sell some Hollywood mansion of a famous person, you get $10-20 million asset right there. You just sold and you put it on your resume. I've got $20 million worth of sales on one contract. So people to say, oh, he's got so many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Yeah, I mean, he might, but I would take a deeper dive into what he actually was selling. Because that does factor into it. And also, I know to some level who this guy's shaking hands with at the end of the day too. And it's not the average person in the middle class income that he's flipping houses for. Say $250,000 a piece, 250,000, because that was COVID. That was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, that $200,000 house jumped to $350,000, if not more. I don't know that I'm going to put a lot of stock into it right off the bat. Based off what I've just heard, I just off that, I wouldn't. Those numbers don't mean anything to me.
I'm actually kind of glad you brought up so who is the target market here? So I'm a Christian-based real estate person. By the way, they told me I do not need a real estate license to do this.
Well, you got to be fair to that statement. It's Christian-based. What's Christian supposed to do? Take care of the poor.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. So this is what blew me away. Here's what blew me away, Dad. So literally, I'm in this class. I'm like, I'm on fire for God. I want to help out my community. I want to give back. I want to also become wealthy as well in the process, so I can give more. And because at the end of the day, for me, I don't care about what dollar is in my bank account. As long as my house is paid for and my family's taken care of, everything else can go back to God and the community. I really don't care. Now, would I like to have wealth and something to maybe leave with my family, etc.? Sure. But it's not an end-all, be-all for me. So I had to look into kind of what they were saying, and if you really understand what they were talking about, who is their target market? And their target market is people that is going through pre-foreclosures, they're going through a divorce, or they're delinquent on their taxes.
Yeah, it's not the only real estate scam that's out. It's not a scam. You're taking advantage of people that's down on their luck. Some of them, and some of them's not just down on their luck. Some of them is like you're making some obviously choices that's causing this, or it could be drugs, alcohol, a number of things that could be causing. So I'm not going to sit there and categorize everybody in that same umbrella. Some people just, again, ironically, COVID, people losing their jobs. People not having, the stable income. And there's other sectors since COVID, people just don't think they have to work anymore, and it's just handouts. So there's this, I would say the target, what I'm saying is there's people that legitimately lost their careers, during this thing, and there's still repercussions of it. And so you're delinquent on your taxes for how long it goes into foreclosure, or you didn't pay, whatever. So no, you're right. I think to a degree you're taking advantage of the people that you should be helping.
And who are you again? A Christian.
It's a Christian organization.
Company.
I don't know the organization, so it's hard for me to
Yeah.
I don't want to sit here and slam a name. I'm going off what principles I'm being told, and that's what I'm going off of. But no, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying I'm a Christian organization taking care of the very same people, which biblically would be widows, orphans, poor people, needy, give them the shirt off their back is a quote. There's more there in that scripture, but that's the people they're supposed to be helping. And that's the people you're actually feeding off of. That's the people you're making money off of. Now, however, if that company came back and said, hey, you foreclosed on your house, sorry, we're taking it, we're buying it, and then they give them a kickback of what their profit was, I might have a different opinion on that, but that's not what I'm being told, and I don't think they're doing that. By no means, I'm just interjecting an idea of if that was happening, and they're trying to say we're a Christian-based organization. However, with all that being said, that's what I said from the beginning. Christian-based, that don't mean anything. Today's society, Again, so many people do the everything under the name of umbrella of a Christian this, a Christian that, and it's far from it.
Well, and that's really what got me is like you're talking about a guy who wants to be hardcore Christian every day of the week, and I could not wrap my mind around how. And there is an argument because I feel like really what this comes down to is, are you actually Christian based or are you business based? Mm-hmm. If you're business based, it only makes sense to target those people specifically, because if you don't, other people will. And so it kind of comes down to like a first mover advantage a lot of times in those situations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem becomes is we're not just business based, we're Christians. And at the end of the day, it is taking advantage of an individual. And how I know that is the speaker, Dina Buchanan was her name, which I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. I enjoy public speaking. One day I want to be one myself. And so as I'm watching this lady speak, I'm thinking in my head of exactly what she's doing here, what the process looks like, etc. Because everything looks good with a slideshow behind you. So one thing that she kept driving home for the first day plus 4.5 hours is, I invested $38,000 over 2 decades ago into education and financial understanding to make sure that as I walked into the real estate business, I knew what I was doing. And she's like, so many people called me crazy, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And then on day 2, about halfway through the day, they drop you with a $30,000 investment. Wow. Now, it is for up to 4 people, so if you want to break that down, that's roughly $7,500 a person. There's a lot you can do with $7,500, and I'll get into that later on.
It's people. A lot of people don't have that type of money to throw at these conferences. Again, I probably designed for more wealthier people.
That's not the way.
There's not a strategy down here. I can save yourself here. So people's listening, I save yourself $30,000. And here's my advice: you go down to the court, you go down to the county assessor's office wherever you live. In most places, that's public information. They'll give you all the places they're going to foreclose. They'll bid on it. You go to the bid. You go to the auction. Highest bidder wins. There you go. You just did the same thing. You can deposit that. And if you need my contact information, you can give me that $30,000 because I just saved you 3 days of a conference of what you just told me. That information it's not like it's capitalized. You can go down here, literally, we live in Oklahoma, Washington County. You can go down to the Washington County Assessor's Office. They do these things. They've already had one this year. They do this stuff all the time. Cities do it as well now, for different reasons. So
can I steel man their position real quick? So if I'm them, here's my rebuttal to that. Hold on. It's not just $30,000 to understand how to flip houses and rehab them and make the most profit on these homes. No, it's way more than that. You're getting 2 coaching calls a month. Every other week, someone's going to call you on the phone and say, hey, what's up? What's going on? I'm going to hold you accountable in your real estate journey. Yeah. 2 calls a month. You get those 7 workshops, and you also get to go to the annual conference.
Yeah,
hold on. Now, here, if I'm a real, like I'm actually trying to get into this, what's the most important thing? It's the software that they're pitching to you. Hey, we have state-of-the-art software that basically puts these off-market houses in your face so you can see it before other people do, and you can get that first mover advantage. But get this, here's the kicker that blew me away. You only get that for the first 3 months for free. And then after that, so you've already made a $30,000 investment in this company. 3 months into it, they're expecting you to pay for the software.
Yeah. You're not telling the viewers, you're not telling me anything that people don't experience on a daily basis. I mean, you're really not. These things are, you can call it a scam, you can call it not. These things are out there all the time. You give us this much, we'll do this, we'll do that. Yeah, I mean, this is just another spin-off. Used to be pyramid schemes too, same thing. You're dropping $30,000, it goes in this pocket, goes in this account, helps the business, in turn it comes back and all this other stuff. Yeah, it kind of does in some aspects. You got to do your part. It doesn't take a genius to do this. I've wrote contracts on houses. I'm not a real estate. I don't know nothing about it. I've sold a couple of houses, did my own contracts, didn't get a realtor involved, advertised myself, and both of them, 3 of them, I turned in less than a week. It's not complicated. It's how you do things. So,
But were you leaving money on the table? Because that's the thing. They have people that will look over your contract and make sure that you're getting
they
the
say
most
that,
money.
but yeah, that's just like
out
a
of people
freaking
in
tax
need.
company that like, oh, we're going to go in and look at it and save you money. They don't give a crap about your money. Yeah, what can you screw the other person out of a few dollars? Because that's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
If you do your market research, you do comparables, because that's what they do. They're doing comps. They're doing comparables of what's sold in there, and that's how they come up with these prices. And you sell it. It's like anything. I've been in the business of selling stuff pretty much my whole life. You just and overprice it. Overprice thing. Who cares? Because then you can negotiate down. You can't negotiate. You don't negotiate up.
One question that I ended up coming to, because I'm like, hey, $30,000 is a buttload of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, if we're talking business here, because you want me to invest in yours, then let's really get down to it. And the first thing I would do if I'm really talking about business is I would remove faith. And why would I do that? Because at the end of the day, I don't care how many Christians work for whatever company. If I'm wealthy enough, I'm going to go out there and find other Christians who want to do God's work and have impacts on communities across the world. I don't need a company to put me in place with them.
I'm not going to sit here and knock a company. If I wanted to look at a Christian-based company that stands on the basis of Christian beliefs, and we're a diehard Christian, we're a Christian company, let me see your tax returns.
Oh, that's a well. They're a 501c3. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, your tax returns are going to say your tax returns are going to say just how Christian you really stand.
That's a good point.
It is, because that's going to be the tell-all. And I can see how much, I'm not a genius at it, but I can see how much money you're hiding. Okay. I can see, so viewers understand, I'm not talking about money you're hiding, like you got this money sitting in a pool over. I'm talking about money you're burning off and lying about, saying, oh, it went to this, but it actually didn't. Yeah, and you can do that on your taxes.
They went over that in the course of how to
make money disappear. I'm not dumb to the game.
We won't
millionaires
say that.
do it all the time. This system was designed in our government, especially with taxes. It was designed around the wealthy individuals. It wasn't about the lower class or middle class people. And so, no, I'm not surprised that they're going to have something, and that's unfortunate, just like we've dealt with Trump and previous things with all the stuff going on. Like, if he played the system and he played it to the laws, he didn't break the law. You might not like it, but, that's what he did. He used the law to his advantage. And so if you don't like those laws, then what you do is you get somebody in office, run for office yourself, for all I care. What I'm saying is change them.
Let me show you this post and tell me the Christian-based company that is trying to spread God's love and wants to invest in real estate God's way. So go ahead and check this out. Your honest opinion here. What do you take from that? Look at the amount of posts they've made. Look at the followers they have, and the amount of people that they're following.
Well,
which doesn't
the followers
matter as much.
is looking at numbers, that's nothing more than the average person on social media. That's not. It's the really, and if you're asking for my analysis, because I don't even know what I'm looking at. The analysis, that is not more than any average other follower some teenager can do in high school. As far as
I
numbers.
had more in high school, by the way, before I deleted my account. Now, okay, so here's something that I do want to point out. Over 2,000 students trained. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean that every one of those students invested $30,000? Because, by the way, the lowest price point was $14,000. For half the time. Now, at the end of the day, the reason why I pulled this post up is because what I want to get at is, what are you actually about? Are you trying to trap Christians who attended a major conference with Tim Tebow and Willie Robertson, and then convert from there a sales funnel that you can then siphon out who's actually got the money and who doesn't? Because if you have following like this, what that tells me is that you don't care about your brand. What you care about is the 2,000 plus students who have attended your courses. And the reason why I say that is,
well, I like how they do this 20 plus years experience. This is one thing I always hate when they advertise, is like, yeah, they've got 20 years of experience. Yeah, with the 2,000 people combined. Yeah, that's how that number comes into existence.
Yeah.
I'm
or
not
even
saying
top
all,
level management.
but it's like they don't put that in there. We got 20 plus years experience combined
Yeah, because they
know,
started in 2021.
Yeah.
And last I checked,
and they
that's
got
not
20 years experience. Yeah, this is so misleading.
Yeah.
You know, again, Christian-based company. And again, I don't want people to understand. I'm not trying to bash this company. I don't know nothing about them. I'm analyzing what I see. And for somebody that company has been in existence since 2021 to sit there, I've got 20 years experience. Most people don't look at this. That is a lie. And if you don't want to call it a lie, yeah, that's what. See, I called a lie because I'm a pretty straightforward guy. Yeah, most people, this is misleading. Oh, you're just a stupid redneck hick. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do. It's very misleading when people look at this. You got a 56-year-old person, you're a kid, 20 plus years. No, that's combined. And that's actually a sad number when you look, if you got 2,000 people and the best you got, 20 years.
Well, okay.
That means no, let's analyze this. 2,000 people, and all that of 2,000 people, all you got is 20 years. That tells me those 2,000 people ain't sticking around very long.
How can you? Because it's a very cutthroat industry.
Well, do the math. So, now, do you see what I'm saying?
What I would push back a little bit and say is there's a different perspective to that. So let's just talk about founders / main leaders in the company. Hey, this guy's been in it for 10 years. She's been in it for 5. They've been in it for 5. Bam, there you go, 20 plus years of experience. That's how typically that works.
Yeah, but that's just stupid. It's false advertising. It's misleading. That's like me getting on here and saying, "Hey, you need to give me $30,000 for this podcast. I've got more than 4 years experience between us, 4 or 5. That sounds great.
Yeah,
but whenever you've got say 60, 70,000 followers, it starts me. I've got more followers on. No, I'm not even getting into that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, now, the reason why I want to bring this number up, 845 followers. So you attend one of the biggest Christian conferences, and your brand gets inserted into their curriculum as far as what we're going to be pitching to these people over the course of the day. And somehow you do not prioritize. Thousands of people attend your event, and you didn't put up a QR code saying, hey, follow us on social media, because that's exactly what that number shows, is a lack of marketing. Mm-hmm. And you're talking to a guy who loves marketing.
Yeah, their marketing strategy is actually pretty good.
Yeah, they want to stay under the radar.
Well, yeah, but look at how they're getting into these things. They didn't come into who's the names at this conference?
Willie Robertson,
okay,
Tim Tebow.
Have you ever heard of Kingdom 320? But
Never.
What they're doing is they're using these big names.
Yep.
And they're coming in underneath them. They've got the people, they've got the following. So they're feeding off other people's following. It's not a bad marketing strategy if you really think about it.
No, it's not.
So it is in the eye of the beholder there viewing it, but it's pretty shady. But yeah, they're trying to stay under the radar. But what they're doing is they're using big names, and they're coming underneath these big names, and that's how they're getting people hooked. Because most people, common sense, big name, big name, big name. These people are too. They don't know any different. They don't do the research before they did it. And I would probably be willing to say, because you paid for this conference too, you didn't do the research before you signed the paperwork to go to it.
Well, here's the thing. I looked at a lot at that paperwork, and it in no way, shape, or form was really disclosing kind of what was going to be taking place here. Now, I understood, because like I said, I'm a marketing guy. I'm trying to become a public speaker one day. So I understood walking into that event, there's going to be another pitch here. There's going to be another sale at the end of this. It's just what blew me away is $30,000, or at the bare minimum, $15,000.
That's not that uncommon. And I don't want people to understand. You can say, "Oh no, public speaking doesn't mean you freaking talk, and then drop a bomb on them."
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because in public speaking, though, there is a couple different routes you can go. You can be inspirational, or you can have, at the end of the day, a call to action for business-related purposes. And I understood going to the main event, Life Surge, where Willie Robertson, et cetera, was at, that, hey, there's going to be a call to action at the end of their speeches to get you to do something, like attend a course. Now, where me and my wife both agreed is it's misleading in the sense of, hey, pay $97 to attend this course, and by the way, if you paid the $97, you're not just going to get one course, we're going to give you 2. And so I'm kind of excited to go to this next conference in a couple of weeks, the stock trading one, to see what kind of pitch they're going to throw out there. I would love to see what their price point is on how much should you pay us to learn about more with stocks and bonds.
Well, there'll be people will buy into it, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I don't know.
But then we get back into what is this ultimately about? I attended a Christian-based conference, and I don't know about you, but times are tough right now for little guys like me. And so you attend these conferences, and you're looking for hope or encouragement, etc. And then this would be nice to understand a little bit more about the industry, etc., etc. And then they slap you in the face with a ginormous price tag. Mm-hmm. And the issue that I have with it is because I've seen people with 1 million more followers than them that have a quarter or a tenth of what they're asking people to spend. And so it begs, and by the way, they've been doing business a lot longer than 2021. And so the question becomes, are you actually Christian, or are you just a grifter claiming to be one? Now, here's another thing too, and I'm not trying to question other people's faith, but here's the reality of the situation. We have a lot of politicians in office who want to claim being a Christian. I don't think Tim Tebow's above that. I don't think Willie Robertson's above that. I don't think any other speaker they had on that stage or the owner of LifeSurge himself, Joe Johnson, is above claiming to be a Christian. But I'm here to tell you, in my humble opinion, if that's the kind of crap that you're pushing, you want Christians to spend $30,000, especially if you're as good as what you say you are, you understand exactly where 90% of the public is financially. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to extract wealth out of these people. You're no different than any other non-Christian based business. And if that's the case, why would I invest in a brand new company versus one that has actually been in business for over a decade, for over 20 years?
There's a lot of places, and people will disagree with this, and that's okay. It's all right to have difference of opinion. There's churches that capitalize on this. There's pastors that capitalize on this, and they take advantage of their congregation for self-gain. It happens a lot. So, no, I may not be a pastor per se or, whatever. It's the proof is there. I mean, there's so much you can do as business, and I can't slam the company. I'm not going to because I don't know it. But you'd have to look at a lot of things to really make a fair analysis, say actually they're Christian-based or not. You're looking at lifestyles, you're looking at how people act, to the way they talk, the way they, do their actions back it up, to what are they doing outside of that? What are they giving back? There's a bunch of factors in to say, no, this ain't a Christian-based community. But in the whole totality of everything you're saying, no, I don't agree with it, because the thing of it is, when you use the word Christian 20 years ago, it ain't the same as what it is now. And so many people are profiting off, I'm a Christian organization. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's Christian organizations in the United States of America that are known for molesting kids.
It gets brought up constantly.
But the thing of it is, so you can't just sit here and tell me, because I'm not one of the ignorant Americans, just sit there and, they're Christian-based, whatever. No, there's Christian organizations that I know of right now that are, just like I said, banking off. Some of these mega churches, I'll call names because I don't care. There's mega churches out there right now that's banking off their conversation so that pastor can have a jet, so he can have the mansion, so he can have the, the cars, and he can have all these other things. This is real stuff that's out there, but they do it under the name of God told me to. I'm a Christian. Christianity is what I'm looking at. So just because somebody labels something as a Christian organization as Christianity, that doesn't mean that God didn't give you the common sense to look at it and look at it accurately and actually tell if that is, or should you even be part of it. Because to reverse the table, there's places out there right now that's not Christian organizations. In fact, I would say satanic organizations that do more than most churches do in the United States. This is a fact. You look at House bills that's trying to get passed in the state of Oklahoma right now, and you look at what's happening. There is, and they're not Christian organizations, but here the Satan is something.
Satanic temple.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly, hit it on the head. But our government recognizes them as a religious organization.
Yeah, got to.
So no, you can't just because it's because it's Christianity or Christian organization always be like, well, that's a good cause.
Did you like somehow cheat and see this next slide?
No, I keep up with things as well.
Look at this man, guys.
Well,
Are you not familiar? Do you know who this man is?
yeah, I do. And you know, so
Kenneth
this,
Copeland.
yeah, so very famous around here because of Oklahoma. And
What do you have to say? What do you have to say about a guy
the
who...
false prophet.
Okay, there we go. Because
That's what I would say. And the thing of it is, because I know exactly what this video was talking about. There was an interviewer, I don't remember the interviewer, but talking about his personal life. Basically, specifically, is why'd you need a jet? I know that I know the video, and that's how bad of how public it is just off his facial expression. This is also basically one that he was very well known for because it was. And if you watch the video. There was a sect of people that said this dude's demonic. And the reason being is if you watch the video, he's kind of like, whatever. But in this moment, it's like he was possessed and it's like he was, Satan himself to a degree.
I didn't pull
in the way he approached it.
I didn't pull the screenshot of the one you're talking, like of the actual facial expression he made. But if you just Google Kenneth Copeland, you'll find the screenshot of how.
So this is what I'm talking about. He says, well, God, to go. It's been a while since I've watched, so I don't want to get anything way out of context. Essentially,
Allegedly.
he needs a jet so he can do God's work and whatever. Man, you look at the New Testament, Paul did a fine job and didn't seem flying anywhere. He took the Hill-to-Toe Express and did just fine. I'm not saying because technology is advanced and we should be ignorant, we have to walk everywhere. I'm not walking to Africa to do a mission trip or whatever else. But this is a prime example of somebody that, in my opinion, takes advantage of the congregation. I don't think this guy needs a personal jet, in my opinion, because here's another thing, another aspect of when you look at Christianity, where's the humility? Where's the humbleness in these things? Why can't he charter? Well, I guess you could if you had 20 people going on a mission trip and it was just that. Why didn't you charter a jet? Why couldn't you just buy, plane tickets like most people, like our church goes to mission trips? They buy plane tickets like a normal person and goes. They don't have to have a personal jet. And so is the church's money, the people of the church giving their money, is it going to God's work? I would say no.
When you have individuals who say, I need this to further God's kingdom.
Yeah, there's several other. Joel Osteen's one of them. Jesse Duplantis is one of them. I'm not scared of the names. I've preached this. I have preached this before in churches. It doesn't bother me because I call it for what it. Well, you can't judge. You can't do this. Well, I don't have to. There's the people so many times misquote what that word judgment means in the Bible. God gave me common sense. God gave me things to look at things and analyze it and look at it scripturally. And the thing of it is the three people I specifically mentioned, I can back it up scripturally. I can back it up by what the Bible says. May not be the 2024 friendly version like y'all are reading, but with biblical, the true Bible, what's written, not these weird not fancy, it's weird stuff taken out of context where you can be gay and it's okay, in the Bible. That's not the version I'm talking about. Biblically, I can back these things. So people need to look at that from a Christian perspective. If you're trying to umbrella everybody under Christianity and look at what the Bible says about it, quit using, well, you can't judge. You shouldn't do that. I'm not judging. The Bible also says you'll know them by their fruits. But so with that scripture, just there, does the Bible not say, hey, you'll know them by their fruits? How are you going to do that? Because you got to judge it. You got to look at it. You got to use some discernment.
Right.
So with some of these people, and there's more than that, you can tell, but they're fooled because what's the Bible also say about that? What's the Bible talk about? Sheep and wolves.
Yeah, the wolves in sheep's clothing.
It's there. I'll call it what it is. I think they're false prophets, is my opinion.
And
false teachers.
I'm not trying to say that Kingdom 320 is the same as Kenneth Copeland, but they have a lot of similar characteristics. And I'm glad that you brought up the point of using common sense, because I called several people the moment I heard that this is going to cost $30,000, because you're talking to a guy who's dirt broke and doesn't have a dollar to his name at the moment, but on the other hand, understands the value that can come from such adventures as real estate, etc. So, I'm not saying it's kind of like sales. At the end of the day, if you're a great salesperson, you're going to make a lot of money, but you're taking a risk, especially if it's an industry that you're not too familiar with. You might fall flat on your face and not.
The thing of it is, there's so much in this crap they don't tell y'all. I get worked up better because it's a scam. It's a scam. And I'll say it's a scam because here's the thing. Here's what they're going to tell you. You essentially, what this comes down to, you're self-employed.
Yep.
Bottom line. Now, you're going to tell me, we'll say there was how many people was there? Roughly.
Over 100.
Okay, we'll say 100 people was there. So you're telling me out of the 100 people that's there, they are not into real estate as it is. There's probably a reason why.
Yeah.
So now we narrow that number down even more. So maybe somebody want to get into it. Maybe they're legit. But now you have to do your own marketing, your own advertising. Okay, so now here, let's narrow these 100 people down. These people aren't real estate agents. They don't know how to market.
Yep.
Because that's a job within itself, and that's believe me, that's a chore.
One of the hardest parts about sales.
And most of these people, unfortunately, and I'm not saying that older people can't do it, are people probably my age, 40, 50 years old. And I'm going to tell you something with these people, 40, 50, 60 years old, you better understand social media. I don't care what world you live in and what business you're in, you better understand social media.
Yeah.
They don't. So what I'm saying is they're setting people, and I'm not knocking, I fall into that category. I'm having to learn this stuff too. I'm not learning social media, but there's just aspects and analytics and algorithms and a bunch of other things. What I'm saying is I don't care. You're not going to have a coach by you helping you market, advertise, get those sales, stuff like that. And that's where they're misleading you. You're going to give the $30,000. You're going to sit through your course. You're going to be like, okay, here, world, eat them alive. And you're going to fail because you don't understand and handle the other aspects. They might say, hey, here's how you get that house. How are you going to come up with what about that $30,000 or $40,000 it's going to cost to buy that foreclosed house? Oh, great. I got a foreclosed house. Okay. How are you going to come up with the other 40, 50, 60, 70,000 to renovate it?
Well, that's the thing, though. So what their expectation is use other people's money. That was something that was specifically said during the course. Use other people's money. And I'm like, wow, that sounds so great, unless you're already starting from a bad financial position in the sense of I can't physically pay for this house. So now I'm going to try and bring an investor in, or a buyer in this case, and tell him, hey, I have this house under contract for X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Here's how much I think it's going to cost for the rehab, et cetera, and here's what I think you'll end up making at the end of this. And then somewhere in there's your profit margin.
It's these things and prey on people. Another example is, why do people go to this? Here's what they promise: financial freedom. You know why they promise that? Because the people that's sitting in the audience don't have that. You know why they don't have that? There's a reason for it, and that reason is a multitude of things. A multitude. And I'm not saying that some of these people can't capitalize on it, and there's maybe a few people that just need a pointer in the right direction. I'm not knocking this one. I'm talking generally about all these other companies, because there's so thousands of them like this that offer you all this. If you'll just do this, we'll do this. Offer all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. Mary Kay's one of them. Whatever company, but you have to
multi-level marketing.
You have to go and do all these things. Your social media marketing. How much sales you got to have to all this other stuff, and then they give you a jacket, and then they give you a car, and then they give you a house, and whatever. Some of it I know for a fact. Some I'm making it up as I go, but it's the same thing. We can offer you this, and you can work from home if you just sell makeup and do this. You can work from home if you will just make these dead phone calls to these companies and try to pitch them on buying a vacuum cleaner or whatever else it may be. It sounds good because you're like, man, a financial freedom. I can work from home. I can make my own schedule. I can do this. No, you don't, because everybody still operates on the same time you do. And what you're going to find yourself doing, you're going to be working when you shouldn't be, because everybody else you need to be calling has a real job that has to work 9 to 5, and you can't get a hold of them because they're at work. So what you're going to do is you're going to take away from your family, because you're going to have to do it after hours whenever you should be dealing with your family, which takes away from the Christian organization, because you should be focusing on your family first.
So, number one, ran
out of breath on that one.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if you listen to some of the best insurance sales agents across the nation, what they'll tell you is the time you make money is after 6 p.m. And why is that? Because of what you just said. At the end of the day, these are working class people with regular jobs.
Like a good neighbor. Stay over there.
Yeah, that's solid. But for me, the one question I have for you is: are you familiar with multi-level marketing schemes and how they operate?
How they operate the internals? No, never been in one. Wouldn't know.
Okay, well, let me tell you, because it's about 90% of most insurance type jobs, as well as, in my opinion, a company like this. And how it works is, let's go back to it. 845 followers, okay? So that tells me you're clearly not
that
trying to
time.
reach the public. So because of that, the question becomes is who is your actual target audience? It's those 2,000 plus students that you got to pay $14,000, $30,000, whatever because there's 3 packages. At the end of the day, we'll just say you got these people to pay $30,000. If I'm the people at the very top of this, and this is one question that they did not answer, but I would love to know is how much of a commission do they make every
Well, they're making
time
money off of it. For
every
sure.
time a student signs a $30,000 investment deal to join your company? That's question number one, because that tells you right there on if someone's actually motivated to get you to sign up or if they're informing you about what the possibilities are. Point of it being is that that's a very tricky business. Now, number two to that, why do I bring up multi-level marketing schemes in these situations is because it's a very real thing that happens to a lot of people. We've seen multiple documentaries come out over the last several years where companies have been exposed for not selling great products, but for entrapping people with a bunch of debt that they did not need. By the way, you can finance that $30,000 if you didn't have it.
Yeah, they do that all the time. It's called college.
Come on, Dad. I did a college. And
Is it not true?
yes, and I don't want to go down the soapbox, but one thing I'll say about that is it still blows my mind to this day how you can loan a young person $200,000 in school debt, but you can't give them a $10,000 small business loan. Make it make sense.
Oh, that's simple too. Well, I can answer that one too.
Because they don't want small business.
No, because they don't want white
competition.
people to succeed.
Well, it's not.
Oh,
that.
you don't like that topic, do you, world? I'll tell you why. Go look at your college. Go look at your college stuff. Go look at all that stuff, and you'll see all this crap about. And I'm saying this because we're talking about it, and I'm kind of in your face with it type of approach. Go see what you can get for being white. Nothing. I want a business loan because I immigrated to America. Okay.
Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm an American citizen. I want a business loan. Too bad.
Yeah, go to college.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at college aspects that we're talking about. I'm telling you, you start looking at scholarships. There's everything but people for white. So don't turn and play this crap with me about white privilege, And I'm saying that because this whole money thing, white people, black people, and other races too. And then I know that comment was directed to white people, or I guess it was directed to everybody else except for white people. I guess we just as in debt as the next person.
Yep,
we're just as broke. I may not live on a certain side of the neighborhood that people label the hood or the poor place or whatever else. But there's white people just as broke. They may just not live on the right side of town to be classified as that. So I'm saying this is across the board. This is not just a race. This is not a maybe even say a Christian issue. This is across the board.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at is that multi-level marketing schemes. Who do they affect the most? The people at the bottom. If I'm the speaker, the public speaker who's getting commissions for this event, which I am 99% sure they are, because if I'm a public speaker and I'm getting people to sign up for a $30,000 investment,
well, they're getting
in your
something
company,
from it. I mean,
I better get a commission.
Their iron is deep enough in that fire that to be speaking for the company.
Yeah.
To be again, keyword is speaking for the company. They're getting money. And my bet is they probably have
That's
some
not a
type
flat
of
rate.
vision where they're somewhat invested into that, where that person speaking, is also bringing money to, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people, whatever it may be. Yeah. So yeah, they're getting kickbacks off this. They're getting paid,
So
to what degree that may be, I don't know.
And that's like kind of what I'm ultimately, I just want to drive that point home of how do multi-level marketing schemes operate. People at the top show you how wealthy you can be. If you just follow the rules, if you just do X, Y, and Z.
But have you looked at, besides the marketing aspect, have you seen what some of these speakers make for being at these engagements?
It's a lot. Because I've actually tried, I've actually tried looking at, I'd love to have Tim Tebow do a talk for me, because I have a couple business ideas myself of conference type stuff. Now, I can assure America and the world that I will never charge you $30,000 to invest in a program.
Well, and I'm
that's
not
to help you get better.
I'm not saying that some better
because
than
I'm
others.
actually Christian.
I don't know anybody down there. I have no desire to, would I think it'd be cool to meet some of these people? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But I'm not driving. I live an hour away. I'm not driving an hour away to do it. I mean, if somewhere along my path, I can shake hands with them, but you know what? I don't need their help. You know why? Because I'm not doing Duck Dynasty. I'm not an injured football player. I'm not walking away from this career, and I'm not knocking anybody.
right.
That's their story. I have mine. They made their money, they made their success and their paths and all this other stuff. And that's
Right.
great. I'm not knocking it a bit.
Yeah, me.
And are they worth their salt whenever they're talking? Don't know. I haven't heard them. And I don't care to take on their business strategy. I don't care to take on their business plan because my business is not the same as theirs. Not that there's some fundamentals in business and strategies and things that are going to be pretty much set across the board. I'm saying all that because I'm tying it back into what I'm saying here. People just need to do this stuff and quit being scared and just step out and do it. They're talking about real estate. I'm telling you, they're making this way bigger of an issue than what it needs to be. It's not hard to get real estate. You can, like I said, you can go down here and buy. I'm going to give you the nutshell of this again. You go down there to the county assessors. You can look at these things online. You can find places foreclosed on. It may just be a bank foreclosing, and you can get on these things. Then you secure the property. Then you're going to have to do a level of some more money. I'm giving people the rundown. I'm giving you a free guide here. You're going to have to invest something into that investment to get it more profitable, which means you're going to have to do a remodel on it and stuff like that. Depending on how you do that remodel, if you just cheapskate it or actually put the time into it, will also dictate your end game because of the quality work you put into it. Okay, so then number 3 comes, now you're going to start doing these comps, comparisons of what's out there to get this on the market to sell it. And it's not even necessarily a bad idea flipping houses. You can get a realtor involved. Yes, you're going to lose 3 to 6%, depending on where you, in some maybe more or less.
More.
But when you're talking to flipping $300,000 or $400,000, yeah, 6% is a lot of money. However, you're still profiting $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Then you're going to have to take that investment, put it back into the company, buy another house, and repeat this. It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
And you have to be on top of it. You have to be committed to it. Here's the downside of what I just said. I just told you generally in a nutshell how you can flip property. Anybody can do that. Now here's the piece that you morons don't understand. Okay? Go into these conferences. And I mean that. I mean exactly what I said. Because you've got a family. You don't know what you're doing. You have a full-time job. You have a life. You've got things you have to do every day to succeed and make money. It's very hard for you to walk away from that and commit to this, selling this because of the amount of dedication it takes for the financial freedom they promise. You're going to have to walk away from your career. Or unless you're just like, I want to dabble in it. Now, dabbling in is different. So people don't look at the end game. They don't look far enough ahead. Now, we jump back into 2021, COVID. We also look at this generation. This generation wants stinking handouts. They're looking for an easy way out. They don't want to do hard work. That plays into this. They're capitalizing, again, because we didn't say 2,000 adults. It didn't say 2,000 elderly people. It said 2,000 students. Tells me the millennials are still being just as stupid and ignorant as they have been, and they're not learning from this stuff. Do hard work. You grind. You work hard to make your money, and they're not. They're looking for an easy way out, and that's what this is, in my opinion. In a nutshell, with everything I just said, they're capitalizing and preying on kids.
Oh, uneducated people, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up about number one. I don't care who the company is. You have to put in the work. You have to. And like, if I want to be successful in any industry, I have to bust my tail day in and day out and try to be the best. Not that you'll always achieve that, but the point of it is, if you're really trying to be successful, you have to try to be the best. Now, the hardest part in industries like this is who's going to buy the home and what homes do I need to buy? So your leads and your buyers is the two biggest parts. And at the end of the day, that does not come with any amount of coaching. It doesn't matter who you network with.
You have to capitalize on situations. You can't sell this multi-million-dollar plan to somebody living in Barnesdall, Oklahoma. Where are they going to buy?
Well,
Who wants to live there?
that's
You know,
kinda,
I say that. I say that about multiple places. I know the place.
Yeah,
You know,
yep.
Know is another one. You know, like
Yep.
ain't nobody traveling through like let's move to Know. It's not. It's probably people that live there. They've family been. So somebody coming to these things like some little crap town. They're not gonna like that strategy's not gonna work. The only thing you're gonna find is people moving out and nobody to replace it.
So at the end of the day, what this really comes down to is, okay, now that we have the understanding of it requires hard work to actually make it, and especially in an industry like that, then at the end of the day, I kind of lost my train of thought here. But really what this comes down to is people want to get rich quick. So it's so easy to hop on YouTube and see a thumbnail of a guy pointing at a house where he says, I made $20,000 on my first home I flipped. And then there's a 15-minute video of exactly how he did it. Now, the problem becomes is once you actually do the research, what's the average time it takes for someone to flip their first house?
Mm-hmm.
Guess.
I have no idea.
8 months. So if you're only giving me 3 months worth of the software before I have to start paying for it, you're already setting me up for failure.
People just don't think it through.
And so, and here's why: because you're forced. Because here's how sales and good sales tactics work. It's high pressure. And so, what I want from you is over the course of this 3-day conference, I wait until midway through day 2 to give you the pitch. And now you have basically 24 hours to make a $30,000 decision.
Yeah, people do
It's
that
high
all day.
pressure.
Yeah, people do that with cars
Most
all day.
people do not ask all the questions necessary. They don't do the research that's required whenever you're about to throw someone $30,000. And it
They're making money doing it.
now one thing I wanted to point out. Why did I go to this conference besides wanting to learn a little bit more about real estate? There was one dude. There was one guy who really caught my attention during the Life Search conference. I brought him up earlier. His name's James Smith, and very wealthy individual, and someone that I do feel like if I went to him and asked him a question, he would give me an honest answer. And how do I know that? Because it takes balls of steel to go up on stage and say some of the things that he did. Now, you could say it's a gimmick, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen several of his videos since then where he's almost saying the same thing every time. I don't fault him for that because, number one, I don't know what his age is, but at a certain point, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I completely respect that. But the issue that I have is, unfortunately, sometimes great men get caught up in bad dealings because I took a picture of this because it rubs me the wrong way when you have a saying like this. Real estate investing God's way. And the issue that I have with that statement is I've attended the conference and I can confidently tell you this is not God's way. You do not take $30,000 from people. And now I know at some point someone's going to say, well, Devin, it's not actually $30,000 if you break it down because that's for up to 4 people. Okay, so what, you want me to invite 3 of my friends and get them to each invest $7,500 so I can offset the cost a little bit? Then let's just break it down at $7,500 that you want me to invest. There's a fantastic app out there that most people aren't aware of, which is kind of crazy to me. It's called Monect. And I've sucked at it because I've spent a little bit of money and had fruitless conversations. I think they were great conversations, but I didn't get the result I wanted. Now, at the end of the day, I would put that on me, not the people I was trying to connect with. But the question that I would have for people is that if someone's telling you spend $7,500 with me and I'll do X, Y, Z, even though they aren't giving you any guarantees, which is another problem, how much could you do with that money if you invested it in other areas, like a Monect, where you can reach out to not just millionaires, but billionaires, and they can tell you what their opinion is, and they aren't slanted, unlike these people who want your money. So the point of it being is I have an issue with Christian brands, and this is something that I want to keep in the back of my mind as we grow. any Christian-based company that is asking for exorbitant amounts of money to further God's kingdom. It does not make sense to me because I don't know how rich Jesus was in the physical life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know spiritually it's unending.
Well, and
but
when it comes to,
do you see what I'm saying?
when it comes to the ministry work and putting people on the ground, it does take money, you know, but it's not these figures that people's making it out to be, you know. It's just not. It's not that much money in the real world. It's just not. And so, you know, what do you look 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 people? You go and you're out playing tickets. There's a lot of logistics, you know, food, water, you know, all these things, and depending on what you want to do and what you're doing, you know, it does cost money. But these things are not that expensive when you break it down on a small scale. Like the one you mentioned a minute ago, the pastor that's on there. You'll never convince me he's putting that much money to God's work. He's just not. It's just not there.
Well,
And
look
if
at the
it is,
suits he's
it's
wearing.
a, you know, what I would say is, and in God's way, what's God's way? You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to that,
That's a
I
great
honestly,
spin.
you know, right off the bat, I couldn't answer that. I mean, there's truth and honesty and humility. Yeah, there's some things that come to mind right off the bat. But typically, what the church wants to hold is 10%. Well, how come you're not giving me a 10% discount?
Mm.
Well, I mean, let's
Yeah,
keep it real.
okay.
Christians, you know, that's the kind of rule of thumb is giving is 10%. How come you're not giving 10% back? How come you're not giving 10% to your people that's following you? I don't know. You could look at it a million different ways, and I could argue it 100 different ways past that. You know, I don't agree with it. I don't like I don't like any company. I'm not knocking this one. Don't know them. Don't care. Not investing, you know, whatever. I don't, the people that sit there and use the name of God and Christian and Jesus to build wealth, I don't agree with it. I don't have a problem with somebody saying, I'm a Christian. Hey, I'm, you know, this is how I live my lifestyle, but saying, hey, we're a Christian business, and you're one of the reasons, amongst many of the reasons why Christians are noted the way they are in society. And to be fair, people that says I'm Christian, you're not a true what we define as Christianity to begin with. You're just an umbrella term for something. I don't even know because it wouldn't be Christianity. It's an umbrella term of a religion more than anything. It's a religious term is what it became because there's a difference between a follower of Jesus and a religion. There's two different things.
I totally
And
agree.
and you, I guess you could say in one, but just because you tell me I'm a Christian, that means nothing, especially in today's society.
Yeah, just throwing the word out there now, and this is one, and not to circle back again to James Smith, but what I liked about him is that he's real. So you have an individual who's telling you straight up, I don't like real estate, but it's just a tool that I use to be able to operate the way that I want to live my life, and that totally makes sense. Like, and I wouldn't knock a guy for that. Now, where I would kind of say, getting into the weeds a little bit, if you're, say, a Christian-based person and you decide to invest in Pornhub or some other pornographic site or whatever, you know, see what I'm
It's
saying?
a Christian-based business.
It's like, hold on, you know, you're literally promoting sin. So at a certain point as a Christian, you have to say, that's not where I'm going to invest my time or my money, even if I get great returns.
Mm-hmm.
And so that basically what I'm getting at here is one of the things I liked about his message is he was very honest about how this actually works. And it's about philanthropy. You can't help everyone, but whenever you see a need, maybe you're at a restaurant and the waitress is phenomenal, but clearly she's a waitress for a reason. You know, most people don't choose that lifestyle, but they need to pay the bills, etc. And so because God's blessed you, you're able to bless them with a bigger tip than what they are typically used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're in the real estate business, and like the example he brought up was, I had a trash guy who would come through every day, and I ended up asking the trash guy, like, hey, you know, what do you do for a living? Or no, obviously he does trash, but basically what's your plans? Do you rent? Do you own? And he says, no, I rent. And he's like, why? Well, because I don't have the credit to be able to go and buy a home. And so he ends up doing a private sale to the individual where he basically, hey, pay me X amount of dollars every month and I will let you buy this home from me.
It's called a rent to own.
Yeah, I don't know. I was blanking. I was thinking lease to own, but I'm like, I don't think that's quite what it was. Anyways, the point of it being is that as God blesses you, you're better in a position to be able to bless others. Mm-hmm. And so what you do with your wealth matters. And James, I'm not saying that he's given away all his wealth or he's given away enough of it or whatever, but at the end of the day, those are specific examples that he can give of God's given me something and I've given back. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the end goal as individual Christians. In my opinion, in 2024, stop giving your money to churches. And why do I say that? What are they doing with it? Look at the American church.
Well, I don't know that I would agree with that. I mean, that's a whole different topic, debate. But
it is.
On the surface, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think it comes discernment, understanding, where your money's going. Those things can be, hashed out in business meeting, depending on church dynamics and other thing. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying like
another
literally
day to figure that out, but
I'm not trying to say completely stop funding churches, but what I'm saying is, in general, understand this: you can have a greater impact on your community by donating specifically to individuals and people in need than what
I don't
most
see.
churches
But see,
will.
I would even disagree with that. We need to quit this stuff about donating. Donating don't do nothing. Get out there and do it.
I mean,
that's where we need to be. It's quit people telling, give me money. Because here's my problem with donations. Give me your money and I'll do your dirty work for you. Give me your money, I'll do the crap that you're too lazy to do. That's what it is.
Yep.
You know why you have 200 members in a congregation that won't? The biggest thing in the Bible: share the gospel. To the end of the world, but only 5 people does it. So what we do? Well, let's fund the missionaries. That's fine. I'm all for it. Why do you got to fund 5 people to do the other 295 dirty work?
Yeah.
And what I mean by dirty work, I'm not saying dirty in the filthy mind. I'm saying the hard, the grunt work, the grind to get out there and do it. So what you do? Here's modern day Christianity for you, so people can understand it. Well, if I pay that missionary to go, I feel good about myself at the end of the day, and I did my Christian duty for the day. And you go to sleep at night feeling great with this false fantasy that you call God. That's not real. That's not Christianity. That's not the real God. That's not the Jesus. You might think it is. We need soldiers. Bible talks about that. We need people who's going to get out there in there. What are you going to get martyred sitting in the United States giving some kid money to go on a mission trip?
I doubt
These people were martyred. Died, killed for what they believe. What are you going to do? That sit in the pew of your church? You're funny.
Well, they pray for people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and those things are important. I'm not taking away from that. But you see the problem. We need people who's going to do. We need doers now. We need talk and giving money and talk. Go.
And so it
Bible always said go. It didn't say sit around and talk about it and debate about it and come up with this all strategic, all master plan.
Well, and then you get into like the fact that, and I call it Baptist for this one, if that church service goes over noon, if it goes past noon, they're upset with the pastor.
Oh, I am. 12:01, it's lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. Not even that. It's like, hey, I've got a game to watch.
There's both sides of things on that. I think that, and I'm not knocking any pastor by saying this by no means. There's a balance of respecting time, being a respecter of the people's time, but also it's the congregation to respect. That guy should be, and I'm not saying it's every pastor, but if he's doing what God called him to do, he is opening up God's word. He's teaching you, he's preaching to you, sharing God's word with you. You need to respect that because you don't know what God's put on his heart. You don't know the other people in there, what they're going through, that God's working through. And if you quit focusing on and getting your belly full, maybe you might actually hear from God. Now, I know that's hard to do, and I'm guilty as the next guy. I am.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not going to say I'm not. I'm sitting there, man, I gotta get home. I gotta get lunch made. I gotta get my 4 kids fed. I've got, the dogs are going to pee everywhere. I've got to get them outside. I've got, I got all this grass I got to cut. I've got some people have grass I got to smoke. It just depends on, the person, but It's true.
Yeah, in today's
It's true.
world, yeah.
You know,
God's hurt.
so people's got lives, you know,
Yeah.
and so there's a respect both ways, and people need to respect that. You know, a pastor's done his, you know, if he's done his due diligence and,
But
and
whose
study and
burden-
prep and
Whose burden is it? Is it on the congregation or the pastor? And I understand
burden
we just,
for what?
So as far as like, okay, when it comes down to it, who's more at fault? Is it the pastor going over the time limit, or is it the congregation for
Not
speed this
respecting.
up?
I think it's both ways. You know, your 5 or 10 minutes, it's one thing, but your 45 minutes, it's another.
Now,
So it depends. Now,
Yeah,
again,
right.
you labeled Baptist. You get into Baptist, you get Pentecostal. You got two different things going on there.
Yeah, I
Man,
know.
you get Baptist, you're like sitting on the pew. Okay,
Holding
sing
on.
a song, altar call.
Yeah.
Nobody came down here. Let's go.
yeah.
Pentecostal, hey, here's a service call. That dude raised his hand. 10 more minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That dude's speaking in tongues, man. He's running up the aisle, man. God's working.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not even going to get into
man.
the fact of whether that's biblical or not. Yes, clearly, I hope, but there's a difference, and there's a difference in the churches, and yes, I could in Baptist too. I could pick some of their things apart. I could pick Pentecostal. I mean, you know, I could go all,
Non-denominational,
you know,
Catholics.
and I hope people can respect. You know, we are having fun with that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to pick it because you're Pentecostal. You know, the bottom line is if you believe in, you know, Jesus and, you know, he died for your sins, that's what it's about, not all these other little nitpicky little things. You know, we can disagree, but hey, those things at the end of the day ain't getting you into heaven, and they ain't taking you to hell or vice versa. So, you know, those are okay things to discuss and talk about, you know. And they'd probably make fun of me too. You know, I go to Baptist church, probably going to, them Baptist uptight people, you know, it's a stigma, you know, it's fine.
It is. And I kind of enjoyed it.
So anyway, to answer your question, I think it would depend on the setting. Are we talking a few minutes? Are we talking half an hour? Are we talking about, you know, what's the setting?
Right.
You know, there's a lot of factors.
I mean, I could give plenty of hypotheticals of like, oh, you know, he feels like God laid this on his heart, and so he needs to speak for another hour.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, at the end of the day, to me, I think you're right. It's always nuanced, but that's
I
kind of
mean,
the
you
beauty
know,
of it.
you know when you're in church, and it's, you know when the pastor's addressing a conversation and he starts to talking like this, that's when you know stuff's getting real. I mean, that's how you know, and you know when the pastor starts to talking like that, you better be prepared to stay a while.
And
I mean, that's just how it is. You better know that pastor's going. He's bringing down hellfire, brimstone right now. You better be prepared. You better be prepared to stay because it's coming down. There
That
you
was
go.
insane. Yeah, I don't even know if we can top that. So I just want to show this little picture real quick to prove that I was at the event. That's James Smith, fantastic guy. Hopefully one day I meet him. I'm sure I will. Guys, that just went off the rails. But either way, I am curious because I'm going to title this video. I'm going to try and get that description just right, put the tags in, get a great thumbnail going. But I really want to hear back from other people that have attended this real estate surge conference across America. I know Tulsa, Oklahoma ain't the only one that had a couple people in there that was looking at each other like, wait, what? $30,000? So please drop a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. And I want to hear about this. And at the end of the day, I think they need to hear about this.
Yeah.
And by they, I mean Kingdom 320. You know,
So you're
so
thinking all these things. So when you say that, I'm so going back to these churches, be like $30,000. Good Lord, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's the stuff you're going to hear. That's
Yeah.
just, see, you got
I'm
all these
just
different
telling
churches, you know, and that's see the thing of it is we need to shut up because I'm going to keep going on this. But the bottom line of it is with all these churches and the examples and funny examples, we should be united as one.
I need more of that from you. That preacher voice. That was gold. Absolute gold.
We'll see by the numbers when we cut it out and clip it.
I'm definitely going to. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, drop a comment, give us a follow, share this with your friends because I think as Christians, other people do need to know about this. I'm not saying never to attend another Life Surge event, but just be mindful that anytime you attend these kind of things, there's always going to be another sale afterwards. So I hope this was helpful. You know, I know I got my venting out. So with that, have a great night.